I like to use the analogy kind of like Toy Story. You have a toy and you receive the toy for the first time and your child plays with it for many years. And at the end, as your child gets older, you typically have a decision for the toy. You either throw it away or you hand it down to another child for it to play. Well, we want to
Yeah.
be a portion of the ecosystem where we take that toy and we continue to hand it down to different children to play. We want to take that battery and we want to reuse it a second time or a third time. First of all, we design a battery to be able to be reused and to be able to be repurposed effectively. So in this case, you could start off by designing a battery that's easy to work on and you're able to inspect all of the components inside the battery to see if they're useful. In the instance of having a battery that's already been used, we look at it and we say, okay, there's nothing physically wrong with it. There's nothing electrically wrong with it. And it's good to be able to be paired with another used battery to produce a whole new product that could be utilized in a different market segment.
You're listening to Bite Size Climate Tech, Season 5. Hi, Guillermo.
Hi, Lydia. How you doing?
You're the opening guest for our Season 5 of Bite Size Climate Tech. I'm super excited for this.
Yeah, I'm excited as well.
So glad that I get to meet you, and yourself is also a scientist by training. This is a perfect type of profile that I love for my guests on the podcast. And if you can also say something about yourself.
Yeah, I'm excited to have this conversation. As you mentioned, my whole career has been working on renewable energy or being able to reduce energy use across buildings or be able to extend energy use across multiple applications. So I'm excited to share about Samsar and a little bit about my history and my background.
Usually for the podcast, we're just going to pick one concept in climate tech to talk about. And for Samsar, very importantly, your company's main focus is the NthLife of battery, right?
So the company is named Samsar, and it's taken from the concept of samsara, which means when you live, you die, and you're reborn. In that concept, our company is focusing on being able to build energy products like batteries. They're able to last a long time and be able to be reused by multiple different applications.
How does that work? You take let's say, a battery that originally looks like this. That's the first generation of battery. And then how are you going to pick the best ones? And
So the way the process works in the business, first of all, we design a battery to be able to be reused and to be able to be repurposed effectively. So in this case, you could start off by designing a battery that's easy to work on and you're able to inspect all of the components inside the battery to see if they're useful. In the instance of having a battery that's already been used, we look at it and we say, okay, there's nothing physically wrong with it. There's nothing electrically wrong with it. And it's good to be able to be paired with another used battery to produce a whole new product that could be utilized in a different market segment.
is it because of the requirement for different market segments for batteries are different?
Correct. So an example would be there is a market where we put batteries on trailers to have security cameras across different locations that may be remote or in different retail stores. In those market segments, they use traditional batteries that are not of new technology. So they're pretty low in terms of technical capability. We distribute these new batteries that are from lithium ion aspect that have different features that allow that product to be enhanced, but doing it at a price point that's similar to the original battery. So the end customer basically has a savings on their total cost, but they receive a battery that has more technology features that are amenable in keeping that product alive and running well for the period of time that they have it in the field.
Let's say we talk about a day of this battery, this lithium ion battery, and when it's born, it's like brand new, and then it's plugged in into the first, like the newest generation of EV. And then
When you have a battery and it's born and is designed to go into an electric vehicle, when it's in the vehicle, the battery is used pretty heavily. As you're aware, a vehicle drives really fast, and so a lot of
right,
energy is taken from the battery over the time period in the vehicle. Now, the vehicle can use the energy to go long distances for the first 5 to 6 years, but then it starts to shorten the distance it can drive. So what they would like to do is replace that battery with a newer one to extend the length at which you could drive the car for one charge. Well, that battery still has a lot of energy inside of it. So we take that battery, we inspect it, and then we deploy it into like the camera segment that I'm describing, where you use very little energy to be able to power the camera for a week or 2 weeks. So in this instance, instead of taking that battery and recycling it or wasting it, you're able to extend the life of the battery for another 10 years in a different area where the battery use is lower requirement than you would have in a vehicle.
Now that I understand. But how do you explain this to an 8-year-old?
The best analogy that I look at how we view what Samsar is doing, it's similar to a child with a new toy. When a child receives a new toy, they're able to play with it for their whole youth. And as they start to get older and that toy has been used aggressively with a young child. So you have a decision as a parent at that older age. Do you take this toy and do you throw it away? Or do you take this toy and hand it to a new child so that they could play with it? Obviously, the parent
Yeah.
is like Samsar. We look at the toy and we say, this toy still has a lot of life. There's no broken pieces. Everything looks good. We clean the toy. And then at that point, we get it ready to hand it to a new child. So when they receive it, they view it as it's a new toy. And to them, it doesn't look like it's been used for 5 years. Then the new child will use it and continue to use it. And so the idea here for Samsar is that we use the toy as many times and hand it down to as many children as possible so that the toy gets as much love and use as you can.
Climate tech is just good business! That's the bottom line.
I have learned about how your process works. And you also mentioned when for these segments, let's say the camera business, they will be able to get a cheaper price for almost the same functional products. For you as Samsara to make it work as just a good business, is it like the process you have is more efficient or the technology you possess is more like advanced in the market? How does it work?
When we look at it from a business perspective, the amount of cost associated to taking a battery that's already been purchased in the original vehicle and inspecting it and getting it ready for new production, that cost is so low that when you're able to offer it to a new customer, you're able to have pricing on similar to battery technologies that they're using that have a lot less features. From a good business perspective, the whole process of inspecting a used battery and getting it ready for production is minimal enough where you could create a competitive price and still maintain very good margin for the business. And so the end customer, the new end customer, gets something that's technically more advanced than what they purchase now at a very small price rate. And we're able to make margin from a unit that was going to be just recycled and essentially given away to a company to be extracting all the minerals for future use.
I see. How much cheaper can they get?
When you look at the total ownership of the product in the new landscape, you're able to get about 50% less expense because in the traditional product lines that they use, they have to replace the batteries every 2 to 3 years. And the
Mm-hmm.
security trailer lasts for 10 years. So essentially, they're buying 3 sets of batteries during that lifetime. In our case, when they purchase the battery, they purchase it for 10 years because the lithium ion batteries are designed to last a very long time. And so they only purchase it up front once and they're able to save all of those extra purchases of batteries throughout the lifetime. So in the end, the lifetime of the product saves them about 50% of the total cost.
So they're actually use a more advanced battery compared to they should have
Yeah, so
used.
the batteries that are typically used in these segments are traditional lead acid batteries. So these are like the
Uh-huh.
batteries that are used in a vehicle for starting the vehicle. And so this old technology is what I would call a non-smart. There's no electronics associated to it. There's no information gathered. And so when we offer them a product, we offer them a product at the same price as lead acid, but with intelligence. So they could monitor the battery. The batteries can heat up when it's cold, so they could charge it. They could be able to compare and pair multiple batteries so that all the batteries are at the same voltage, which is important for the product's uptime.
Okay. Now I understand for the end users, the customers, it's good for them. But for Samsar and companies like yourself, how do you keep the competitive advantage so that it's a good business for people who operate?
Yeah, there's two ways to approach batteries: designing new batteries for reuse and also being able to reuse batteries that have already been deployed for the last 10 years. And so when we look at
Wow.
Samsar, we have two product lines. The first product line is new batteries that are meant for reuse and the batteries that are existing. So these new batteries that are meant for reuse allow us to stay competitive because we've understood what it's required to go into new markets with used batteries that are existing today. And so in this instance, we continually design it to keep our costs as low as possible on the inspection side or almost eliminate the cost in the inspection perspective. So as a new battery starts to get cheaper over time, we're able to stay in the same trend and always have a slightly competitive advantage in cost due to our design adjustments and improvements in the process.
Are there a lot of competitors in the field?
Yeah, so there's a lot of competitors in the space that are focusing on larger battery units, similar to a grid scale operation or battery backup for AI data centers. But in
Mhm.
the environment where we deploy batteries, there isn't as many competitors trying to sell used batteries into these smaller market segments that are traditionally using the old battery style of lead acid. And so ideally, we want to be able to inform as many people and get as many battery products out in the field so that they could see the advantage of it. And globally, it becomes an opportunity for both the end user, but also other individuals to be able to go into these markets in the same vein.
Yeah, I hope this episode will serve that purpose for you to reach more people.
Yeah. Ultimately, from a climate tech standpoint and from a business, the more that people understand there's an opportunity here, the better the adoption. It'll be good for our company and it'll be good for the ecosystem. Having a monopoly is great, but having competition drives innovation. And so the more people that get into the space, the better for the global sense of a climate impact.
What is the reason that people were not doing it in the past? Is it because of you need to essentially put a lot of time to come up with this process?
So when we look at the markets we were focusing on, I think people were missing out the opportunity because every battery that was designed 10 years ago is different. And so when you think about pairing the old design with an application that has an existing standard, it requires a lot of investigation. So we spent the first year of our company's life just understanding all these market requirements. What is the size of the battery? How much energy do they need? What's the voltage specification? So we created a huge map for all these markets and we started just connecting the dots. So battery from this vehicle is perfectly suited for this market. Battery from vehicle B is suited for this market. It took a period of time to do that. And so I think that's why it hasn't been done. But now that we've generated the map, it's easier for us to be able to funnel where these batteries can go based on the requirements and the capability.
Why do you work in climate?
As a young child, I was always into science, and I started my first business when I was 15, buying and selling
Wow.
vehicles and working on them. And so I
Huh?
knew that I wanted to be in the landscape of energy. And when I went to college, I started learning a lot more about solar energy and renewable technology. And I spent my last years in college in that space. And when I got to graduate school, I viewed at how much energy was used in buildings and I wanted to be able to reduce that energy. And so I created a technology that helped reduce energy in buildings through glass. Ultimately, at the end of that journey, I came into the situation with batteries where I saw there were so many batteries that were being deployed into the field. My question was, what's going to happen to all these batteries? And can we take that energy and reuse it instead of being able to recycle it and lose all the value that was originally put into that?
Good origin story. From the age of 15, you're already buying and selling.
Well, my parents have been in the science field. They're both medical doctors, and so I've always been around science. I tended to go more into the physics and math portion, and my family liked to do the health. I've always been around
Cool.
science, and so science was something that was just, it's interesting, and it drove me to get into this career path.
Amazing.
A question from our previous guest.
If you have all the money in the world, how would you use it to combat climate change for the next decade?
Now, pass it on to our next guest.
If I had all the money in the world, what I would do is I would motivate every business that creates energy for the world to transition into a renewable form in one way or another. So either by subsidizing some of the additional costs that might be there so that they still create a profitable business, or by just creating a whole new product line that they haven't thought about. I think the best way to make an impact or transition is to do it through business where the individuals responsible for it are motivated. When you have a motivated party to make money, you will see more transition and change both politically and from just the private sector where an individual wants to do this as a new business.
So if you have all the money, you make all climate tech to become the good business.
Correct. Because in that sense, everybody would be aligned. The end users are receiving energy that doesn't harm the environment. The producer is making money, and everybody has alignment on why we're doing this for the world.
Can you leave a question for the next guest too?
If you were to change career paths and have a bigger impact in climate, what would you do?
What's your one sentence of hope?
Like Samsar, we're born, we live, and then we're reborn. And so in any scenario, I believe there's always hope at the end of the tunnel. And I see it through our business that people are taking climate tech serious and they're going to move forward and trying to improve it.
Thank you so much for coming to the show, Guillermo.
You're welcome.
It's
Thank you,
a
Lydia.
pleasure to have you to open our season 5.
Let's make climate good again.
Bite-sized climate tech. From crisis to solutions. 2 worlds becoming one. Join the climate tech journey.